And now our new one for this week, and again, next week on Wednesday, we're talking about the top interior defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Look forward to that one. And tonight, or today, cornerbacks.
Yeah, cornerbacks.
I see you're going top seven cornerbacks. Before we get to the individual names, this group as a whole, it doesn't seem to be like seem to me like there's a sure top 20 pick. We're in the past multiple top 20 picks at corner. Is that a right read on this group?
I think it's fair. There lacks true eliteness in this group as compared to years past. And I think this is the way I would kind of say it right here. I don't think any one corner is as good as the three corners that maybe there was more, three corners that were drafted in the first round last year.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think any of them are as good as Denzel Ward, Jair Alexander, or Mike Hughes, who Minnesota took late in the first round. I think those three, if they were in this draft this year, would still be 1, 2, and 3. And
these would all be second round?
These will all be second rounds, or maybe second round, maybe late first, whatever it may be. But as you see, we'll crack through this. There's two guys that jump out to me, or three really, that I think are kind of in a class of their own. But the two at the top who I think are, have the chance to at least be special at some point in the future in the NFL.
We'll get to the top here, and we'll start at number 7. And this one surprised me.
I know, here we go.
I don't read a lot of mock drafts. I have some friends where I respect what they know and they do, and I don't see this name as low.
No, I know.
It's on your list. So at number 7 from Georgia, DeAndre Baker.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of these mock drafts too. I thought DeAndre Baker was disappointing in the fact where I see everybody as ranking him the number 2 corner or number 3 corner or one of the top 25 or 30 players in the draft. I just can't disagree more. I don't know what else to say. He is a good football player. There's no doubt. But just because he's a good football player on one of the best teams in college football doesn't mean necessarily he's like one of the best players in the draft. I think people get too enamored with that. And with this specific player, DeAndre Baker, the biggest issue I have is raw, pure speed. Yes, he ran 4.52 at the combine, and damn, he plays probably slower than 4.52 on film to me. Yeah, that's going to be an issue for me.
Where does that show up?
Well, it shows up when he's got to turn and run with big-time receivers. It shows up when he's in man-to-man situations and he bails real early before the snap because all he's worried about is, oh, I can't run with this guy, so I need to back off. And to me, that's really where the conversation starts for top-tier corners. If you can't run and be able to sit on receivers to a degree when they run the go route, right? And if you have to be always so worried about being on top of that, then everything underneath is going to be wide open. I mean, if a guy like DeAndre Baker has to cover, the elite NFL receivers one-on-one, I mean, everything under 10 to 15 yards is going to be open because he's going to be so worried about protecting the ability to go over the top on him. They are primarily a zone team. That says a lot to me.
Well, and that's what I highlighted and underlined of all your notes here on him. To me, he looks like a zone coverage cornerback.
And that's not a first-round
corner. Is that
corner.
because of his speed?
Yeah, and because of what they ask him to do. I'm big into this. Kirby Smart's really smart, okay, the head coach there. He's been around a lot of NFL defensive corners. So, again, context clues of scouting. If the head coach in college doesn't trust the guy on an island, then why the hell would you draft him in the top 30 or the first round and think, oh, he's going to come in here and shut down A.J. Green when we need him to? That's why you draft a corner in the first round, to be that type of guy or be a standout slot type cornerback. So this DeAndre Baker's a good football player. He tackles. He's fearless. I like a lot of things about him, but top-end speed and ability to burst out of transition. And all those, I'm going to stand up for a second, Annie, okay? The ability to burst out of transition, to me, is key to the game. And this is the one thing that I think he lacks a little bit, to where, okay, he's playing off coverage because he's worried about getting beat deep. Okay, now the guy comes up and he runs a comeback. This is where he falters. He backpedals, and I do not see great acceleration or burst out of the backpedal to then make a play on the ball. It's nothing special is what I would say there. Or, running like this with a guy and boom, I got to stop and then make a drive on the ball. He is not impressive that way, and to me that does not speak to a first-round corner.
It sounds like, and just like you wrote down here, it looks like a zone coverage cornerback. Are there teams that are heavily zoned where you think he would fit and he would be a great pick?
Yeah, definitely. There's plenty of those teams. You know, hey, the Buffalo Bills like those type of players. The Carolina Panthers like those type of players. I don't know if I could sit here and tell you all the teams that have those draft needs right now, but there are teams that value zone corners, certainly. They want a guy who is smart. We know he's going to tackle when the run comes out that way, or a wide receiver screen. Certainly teams that value players along those lines. But I'm saying to be an elite or top-tier type corner, I got to be able to trust you against really top-tier wide receivers, and I don't think that's the case for DeAndre Baker.
I'd like to put a bow on these before we move on. Sounds like if you're a zone team, second round would be a good pick?
Yes, exactly right. Okay. I think all these guys I got on this list, that's why I cut it off at 7. I think all these guys are going to be first and second round picks. Okay. And then the guys that I don't have on the list from here, yeah, I got questions about them further down the line.
Moving up to 6, maybe the best name in the draft at the Temple.
Yeah, he is a player, Rock Ya-Sin. And I hope I'm saying that right there. I think it's Ya-Sin,
I think
right?
so too.
Okay. Yeah. But either way, okay. So Rock Ya-Sin, the guy I compare him to right off the bat to give you a pro player comparison would be Josh Norman. Okay. Now I think a lot of his movements are a lot like Josh Norman. Now I don't value Josh Norman. Josh Norman coming out and the way he is now. The way he is now, though, I think still translates to this guy. Like Josh Norman is, again, not a corner that you put on an island and go, oh, cover Odell Beckham Jr. man-to-man all game long. No, Josh Norman's been primarily a zone corner for most of his career. You just heard Jay Gruden come out and go, we need more from Josh Norman, which he is saying, we're paying you to be a shutdown island-type corner, and we're not being able to use you that way, so you have to earn it this year. But Rock Ya-Sin, yes, to me, again, the thing I like about Rock Ya-Sin is extremely twitchy. Fearless tackler, can make plays on the ball. But I do, again, and why he's number 6 for me, is I question his top-end speed. And that is an issue for me, especially when you're playing on the outside against, receivers that are going to be able to run 4-3 and fly by you. I would worry about him in that instance. But the one thing I like about Rock Ya-Sin, I think he has value as a nickel corner, too. He'd be one of those guys who I say is quicker than fast, right? You always hear, like, scouts and people who evaluate say that thing. I think that's one of the things with Rock Ya-Sin. Extremely twitchy, has a good initial burst, right? And when I say initial burst, again, I mean like he's stuck in this position right here and, he sees the ball thrown here and it's really a quick first 2 or 3 steps. But after those few steps, he doesn't cover a lot of ground to maybe catch up against an Odell Beckham Jr. And make up ground to break up a ball deep down the football field. I
also highlighted here in your notes while watching film of him, has really good hips. How does that, because we hear that a lot about players this time of year, he has great hips. Well, how does that translate on game day? Yeah,
and again, I'm going to stand up again for this, but hips are, one of the 2 or 3 most important traits for a DB. Okay, and what I mean by hips is this. Okay, all right. So here I got a receiver running up the field. I'm running up the field and I'm running. Oh, the receiver put the brakes on and ran the comeback or the out route. The ability to just be boom and just flip open, not have to go.
Isn't that more important or used more often than high-end speed?
Yes, but what happens if you don't have high-end speed, you're not even going to be able in position to break on that ball because you're going to be so worried about, oh gosh, I have to stay on top, this guy can run by me.
Cushion would be too much.
Great, your hips were great, but your hips, were
they weren't that good.
They weren't that good, or you're so slow, your hips were good, but you can't even make a play on the ball anyways because you're out of the screen. Right. But that's where he has special hips. Teams running like a post corner. Oh, I'm following him on the post, and the guy runs out this way. His ability just to seamlessly turn his body and break and run without having to really lose pace. He can stay the same speed throughout. That's what I liked about his hips.
All right, Rock Ya-Sin at number 6. You had DeAndre Baker, Georgia, at 7. 5. Then this is another player, Murphy, the cornerback out of Washington, who I see higher than 5. So maybe you don't like him quite as much as others.
Yeah, maybe not. And I think my thing with Byron Murphy, and again, I see good here with Byron Murphy, definitely. Byron Murphy to me is more of a slot corner than an outside corner. That's what and to give a pro play comparison to him, I kind of wrote Buster Screen, right? Okay. I wrote Brent Grimes, that type of guy. Even like a Tre'Davious White, who we saw a few years coming out of LSU that the Buffalo Bills drafted in the first round. Again, I think top-end speed is a little scary. He ran 4.55 at the Combine. He looks like 4.5. And for all those people who go, well, top-end speed, is it that important for corner? Yes, it is. Name me the greatest corners of all time. Deion Sanders. Oh, maybe the fastest guy ever in the sport. Darrell Green. Oh, maybe one of the fastest guys ever in the history of the sport. Champ Bailey. Oh, really freaking fast. Jalen Ramsey right now.
Yeah.
Speed is important at the cornerback position. There's no other way to have it. Now, can you be good without having that top end speed? Certainly. But all I know is the great ones have had top end speed. So that's where I always start with it. Now, Murphy, his body control, hips, ability to have, what do I want to say? Lack of wasted steps in transition. And again, I'm going to stand up one more time. Okay, Annie, I'm coming up. But hey, the receiver's running a route. I don't want to see a bunch of steps like this to break on the ball. Man, Murphy could just go here and boom and just go. And that's what his ability.
Efficient, quick movement.
Efficient, quick movement.
I want to come back to what you said a moment ago.
Yeah.
And I'm reading it right here from your notes. The value of Murphy is as a slot cornerback. And as quarterbacks in passing games go more toward it, they value that person in the slot.
Right.
And think about how New England had so much success outside of Gronk. Edelman in the slot. If you want to line up and have a chance against New Orleans, if you had a slot player who could go against Kamara.
Cooper Kupp with the Rams when he was healthy.
So maybe that's even more important to some teams than a cornerback who can be good on the outside.
Yeah, well, no, I think there is. I mean, and again, it might be maybe you already have two good corners on the outside and you go, damn, we need this. The nickel back to what you're saying, this is not a substitute player anymore.
No.
The nickelback is a starting NFL football player. It's a
out there well more than half the time.
Yes, right. And to what you're saying, to guard the Julian Edelmans of the world. Hey, Antonio Brown, he makes his way into the slot. You have to have a guy that has special quickness, special hips, and special feet to be able to stay with what I call these guys that are jitterbugs, who are quick as lightning and just and break out.
Is Murphy the best one in this group?
It's very close. It's him and another guy that we're going to talk about in a few minutes that are in that conversation. But kid tackles. He does that. Only thing I'm going to say negative again is just the top end speed. I just wouldn't be able to trust him on an island outside against the NFL elite on a game-by-game basis. That would be an issue. But inside, if he was inside on the Jarvis Landrys or the Edelmans of the world, I like him in those type of matchups.
I know these picks are made by general managers, but if I'm inside one of those facilities, and I'm a defensive coordinator where my voice is heard, and this is true, if he really is one of the best slot corners in the draft, I would raise my hand and say, give me this guy in the first round. This is what we need to go to the next level.
No, and I think there's a very good chance that could happen. Again, I don't think Byron Murphy's a top 20 pick or anything like that, but am I going to be shocked if he's taken somewhere between 25 and 32? No, I certainly think he'd be worthy of that kind of status.
All right, moving up to the Big Ten now.
Yeah.
To Michigan State.
Yeah, Justin Lane.
All right.
I was impressed with Justin Lane. Justin Lane, I'm not a fan of all the big corners that that are in the draft this year.
6'2", 192.
6'2", 192, long, fluid. I mean, silky smooth is what I would say about Justin Lane. Wish his top-end speed was a hair more as well, but it's not as concerning to me as some of the other guys.
And he's 4'5", according to what you have
He's 4'5", and I would say he plays like it's 4'4", 4'8", okay? Now, so his time is pretty close to what he looks like on the field. But when he bails, to be the counterpoint to what we said about DeAndre Baker, he might bail at times, but he doesn't bail too much to where it takes him out of the competitive part of making a play on the ball, right? He's there to make a play on the ball. But I think as far as smoothness, hips, feet, asked to play a ton of man-to-man on an island by Michigan State, all of those things I thought were phenomenal, let alone his ball skills I thought were really good too. I mean, he can cover the quicker receiver. He can cover the N'Keal Harrys of the world too and be very competitive with the 50-50 jump balls. N'Keal Harry got one on him. He was all over it. N'Keal Harry's a talented guy too. But, the guy I looked at here or compared him to was A.J. Bouye. He reminded me of A.J. Bouye coming out of Central Florida, who was also like a 4'5" guy, who I would say now plays like he's like a low 4. Yeah, he looks faster. And again, with strength and learning better techniques and growing older as a man and a human, you can get faster and a little bit more explosive even when you're 20, 21, 22 years old. You know that. And I think that's something that, he certainly can improve. I really liked his game, everything about it, his technique, his instincts were all off the charts. He's a really complete football player. I just worried, like I said, about his top-end speed. That would be the only concern I have.
And everybody loves comparisons this time of year, not just us, but I think the personnel people people inside the buildings as well. Does it help him or hurt him that there have been first-round corners from Michigan State here recently?
No, it's gonna. Well, it could hurt a little because people are gonna go, "Oh, Trey Waynes wasn't as good as we thought," right?
Darqueze Dennard.
So Darqueze Dennard wasn't as good as we thought. Certainly, that is going to go into this. That's going to go. The question with Michigan State is going to be, man, they're good at recruiting DBs. They coach them at a very high level. Do they have a whole lot of room to grow, or are they kind of maxed out? I think that's what you have to take with Michigan State type corners. I do think this guy doesn't need to grow a whole lot more. I think it's all there for him already. He can jam you at the line of scrimmage. His feet, his ability to mirror receivers off the line of scrimmage is phenomenal. And his ability to make plays on the ball and hips and transition were smooth and effortless. I just wish he had a little bit more of a top-end gear. And then he would be talked about as a top 20 pick, but I don't think he's going to get there.
All right, moving up to number 3, and this is, I really like your list because you're either higher or lower on these corners than most, so there's some pretty good talking points here. Julian Love, Notre Dame.
Yeah,
at 3.
Julian
higher
Love.
Than most.
I guess I am, and certainly, and I guess I'm higher than most usually most of the time anyways, especially on the weekends, Paul. Okay?
Weekdays?
Yeah, I try to control it to weekends only.
Smart.
But Julian is... I'll throw out my player comparison right off the bat. Remind me of a guy I played with right away, Rondé Barber.
That's high praise.
Yes, I know, because the guy is a complete football player. I also threw another name in there, Chris Harris Jr., who's one of the best nickel cover corners in all of football. Now, where I like Julian Love, he has the ability to be that nickel cover corner. Certainly, he's got the quickness, he's got the hips, he's got the ability to stick his foot in the ground like a wide receiver and break on a ball seamlessly without really losing any speed or anything like that. All of that's top notch. But what I liked about Julian Love is he does have outside value as well. And here, as a guy who ran 4.54 and slower than Justin Lane, I just watched the film and sorry, he's not on the field. He's not slower than Justin Lane.
How much does it help him that we're there on Saturdays? You see him often from field level.
See him often. Where it helps me with a guy like this is I know the person. So that makes me feel good about the person and the player. Now, I will say this, when I turned on the film, I said, damn, Julian Love's better than I even gave him credit for in person.
What was the first thing you saw in film that made you say
I think that he was his speed was a little better than I gave him credit for. He runs easy. He's such a smooth athlete, but he can run with some of the receivers they had to play this year that were burners down the field. He had no problem turning and running that way. But it's the other stuff that I also like to it. Again, his ability to turn his hips, stick his feet in the ground, come up and make tackles, and throw his body around, I thought were all off the charts. And I wrote down, I thought if you would have made me guess before watching this film, I would have said he ran 4.47, something along that. And another context clue is he was asked to play man-to-man a lot on an island versus the other team's top receivers. And they got good defensive coaches there at Notre Dame who know what the hell they're doing. And if they trusted him, I think that says a lot, too, about what they thought of him as a player, that they could go, hey, you got him. Now we can do other things with the guys in secondary to help out other people or, a part of the offensive formation that, we don't like when they get in this formation. Now we can shift the coverage over there.
Did you notice things on tape that others saw and docked him for that you had to get yourself past?
I can't say that I did.
Because it's common to see him outside the top 5.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And, I don't know why, though. I just don't know what you could see on tape to go, what's not to like about the guy? The only thing, okay, he's 5'11". If you don't want to let...
Shouldn't be a problem.
It shouldn't be a problem. If you don't like his 4.5, 4.40, okay. I mean, I know it's not great, but he plays faster than that. Right. And, the other thing that I thought was impressive, he is great at anticipating routes. And he's not a jumping routes, he's anticipating. To me, there's a difference.
Quality. Yeah.
Yes, because he anticipates it, to me, which would be a context clue to show he studies receivers and he studies offenses to kind of go, ooh, when they get in this formation, I saw in film, they like to run the out route a lot. And he wasn't jumping it before the quarterback looked over there, like just taking a chance, going, oh, I think, he kind of waited for the context clues to go, ooh, I think the out's coming. I'm going to get all over it. And he would be there to make a play on the ball or maybe just a bam-bam type of play. But those are things that jumped out to me. I thought that took him to the next level.
And replacing him on campus in South Bend, a big deal this spring. Shameless plug. Doug Flutie and I will be calling the spring game next Saturday.
Yeah, we'll be
on
there.
NBC.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. But I know. I thought this with Notre Dame people or fans that watch Notre Dame all year last year. Everybody, oh, Notre Dame's overrated. Notre Dame's overrated. Notre Dame's got a lot of NFL football players on their team, and they have, and Julian Love is one of them, and Jerry Tillery's going to be, a top 45 pick, and Tavon Coney's going to be picked at middle linebacker somewhere in the first 3 rounds.
Drew Tranquil will get
picked.
picked.
Drew Tranquil's going to get picked, right? The running back Dexter Williams is going to get drafted.
2 defensive ends that didn't come out will
be picked eventually, right?
Yes.
Notre Dame was the real deal. Let's not forget. I know they lost to Clemson, but damn, Clemson wiped the floor with Alabama too. Let's not forget that point.
Awesome segue. Perhaps the best I've seen here in our 4 or 5 times together. Because up next at corner, we move to 2 and go to Clemson, TRAYVON MULLEN.
Yeah, TRAYVON MULLEN, to me, is the surprise. And, again, I'm like you. I don't pay too much attention to all the mock drafts and everything that has to be said in the world. I want to do my own homework and look at the guys for myself. I don't want to have any, preordained thoughts as I go into the process. Now, yeah, I realized that I did not see TRAYVON MULLEN's name at the top of a lot of people's lists. I don't know why, okay? That's where, TRAYVON MULLEN is grossly one of the most underrated players in the draft to this point that I've seen. Again, he's at Clemson. He is on an island as much as anybody in the draft, okay? And I respect the hell out of Dabo Swinney and their defensive coordinator, damn it, I'm blanking on his name. He's the old Brent Venables.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brent Venables, what? Those are 2 of the best coaches in college football. Clemson goes TRAYVON MULLEN, you go over there and play man-to-man, and we're going to play zone on the other side of the football. So that tells you the type of respect they have for TRAYVON MULLEN. There's nothing to not like about TRAYVON MULLEN. He has got phenomenal hips. He's got a phenomenal jam at the line of scrimmage. His ability to turn and run is as good as everybody in this draft, except for maybe Greedy Williams, who...
And most importantly, Chris wrote down the middle of his first page of notes, has better legs and ass than Greedy Williams.
Well, he does.
Can't believe he waited 2 minutes.
Right? What was I doing? Yeah. But yes, because he's got a little bit more muscle and structure to him than Greedy Williams or Justin Lane. There's a little bit more muscle to him compared to them, and I'm using them because they're the taller, longer corners in this draft. TRAYVON MULLEN, 6'1", 199, ran 4.46, and I would say his film looked like he ran, let's say, 4.42, 4.41, but I didn't see anything in his game. He has phenomenal ball skills to locate the ball. He's not one of those guys that's running down the field and let's say the quarterback's down there and he just waits for your hands as the receiver to knock it down. He kind of, the hands are going up and he locates the ball and tries to make a play on it and knock it away. I thought that was phenomenal. And then his ability to burst out of breaks and do the things that we talked about earlier in the segment, it was top notch. I just don't know what's not to like about it.
For a cynic who would say, okay, they were up by 3 or 4 touchdowns every game. They had 3 first-round picks in the front 7. He ought to be able to look good back there. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, my response to that is still look at the positions the coaches are asking him to be in, and a lot of the times, yeah, you're right. They were winning games. And you know what the teams that had to do to travel?
Had to throw a lot.
They had to throw a lot. So he went, oh, gosh, we got to throw. And a lot of the times they were like, we won't mess with this guy over here. Let's go to the other side or work the concept or whatever it may be. But, yeah, I just thought his acceleration, his burst were off the charts. His ability to start, stop, re-accelerate. And some of the names I wrote down Marcus Peters. I wrote down Kyle Fuller for the Chicago Bears, who's one of the better corners in football. Yeah, I always come back to this. Would I trust this guy on an island 25 to 30 times a game against Odell Beckham Jr. or Antonio Brown and those type of guys? That, to me, is when you're getting into elite status. And with TRAYVON MULLEN, I look at it and go, yeah, I would trust it. I don't think he's going to win all the time, but he's in the athletic class to mess with those guys and be there.
Why is he not worth a pick in the teens or early 20s?
I would say he's around that range. I do think he is worthy of that. With his size, speed measurables, I think he is worthy of, somewhere between, let's say, 18 and 25, I think. I think the problem with some of the DBs in this draft is just there's so many good front 7 players,
and then
they're going to get pushed back a little bit because the premium is going to be some of those guys early on in the first round.
You can find good value.
You
later
can find
in the
good
first
value. Exactly
or in the second.
Right.
All right, we have arrived at number 1, and I kind of gave it away. When we were
I
talking
did
about
too.
legs
It's
and
all right.
ass,
Everybody
Greedy
knew where
Williams,
we were going there.
Greedy Williams at number 1.
Yeah.
Why?
Greedy Williams at number 1 because, you know, hey, flat out, there's just not a lot of people on planet Earth who are 6'2" and can run and move the way he does. I think that's where it all starts out. I mean, it's a special skill set to be that size and be able to move that way. And, you know, all the movement skills, whether it's flipping his hips or, again, the footwork or the ability to just put the foot in the ground and burst out and make plays on the ball, all are there. It's top notch. I mean, he is a big time specimen and football player.
However,
yes,
you wrote down, I really like the player, but I'm not blown away.
Yeah, I was not blown away to the, you know, and this is what stinks for some of the top end guys, because I guess I hear so much praise about these guys. I was expecting, damn, I'm going to turn on and see Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
So that's where in my notes it comes out to go, I'm a little disappointed because, you know, I watch football and watch all these highlight shows and college football, and everybody was telling me, man, this guy's a superstar. He might be, but I just wasn't as, you know, jaw-dropped as maybe I thought I was going to be in the process.
How sold are you that he is a firm number 1 and TRAYVON MULLEN can't catch him at number 2?
Yeah, I think it's close, but I don't think that TRAYVON MULLEN quite has the extra. He has an extra gear, but Greedy's got 2 extra gears. And I think, yes, with just the little bit extra length in which he plays in, yeah, I think Greedy's got a slight notch over a TRAYVON MULLEN. I really like TRAYVON MULLEN, but I think the straight top-end speed puts it over the top for Greedy. Greedy can run with anybody. Greedy's biggest problem is he's not used to anybody being a foot in front of him. And if somebody even remotely gets in front of him or anything, he holds. And that is an issue that I am worried about, not with him, DeAndre Baker. They hold to where when I watch the film at times, I go, man, this is not going to be realistic in the NFL. You're going to be a walking pass interference call. And I think Greedy Williams, that's the one issue I have with his game. Trey Waynes, who came out of Michigan State, we just brought that name up a few minutes ago. He was kind of a guy who I said he has a similar style and makeup that Trey Waynes does, and Trey Waynes had the same issue.
You talked about with the defensive ends how some of the guys have traits, but and their issues can be coached out of them.
Yeah, right.
Or some of the traits you just can't coach into them. A guy who holds a lot.
I know.
Is that something that he could be coached and let that go?
It can be coached, but it's hard. It is. It's a lot of work.
Because he's probably been doing it since high school.
Exactly right. And in the SEC, where they let the defenders play a little bit more maybe than the rest of college football, he got away with some where I was just like, holy crap, are you kidding me? Nobody's going to call that? You know? So, yes, he's going to be the type of guy where I think they're going to have to put oven mitts on him or something during practice and really stay on him about using him. There's no need for some of the times that he holds where I want to go, damn, dude, you're right in this hip pocket. Just kind of read the guy's body language, stick your foot in the ground, and try to run the route with him. You don't have to, like, run the route before he runs the route.
Right.
So there is great strength. You know, his speed is great. And the guy I came to at the end of the day more than anybody was Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. That's who he reminded me of. And I know DRC, you know, some might view him, he's a little bit of a knucklehead. But, man, when his prime, DRC was pretty special in the NFL. You could put him on islands against the fastest receivers in football, and he can hang in there.
Is Williams a better tackler?
He is. He's definitely a better tackler, yes. Really, I was pretty impressed with all these guys tackling. I mean, none of them were like, oh, gosh, damn, if the sweep comes to their side, they're going to do anything they can not to. I thought all of them had enough physicality to where I would feel comfortable making tackles in space.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.